otherwise, we're back from vacation. Time to get right back into Christian humanism today. Chapter 1, we've got ethics, and specifically the part where we're going to be looking at how our ends, how our goals determine the type of people that we are. Alright, so let's start off by me learning how to open my markers. Let's start off by addressing how every living thing in this world works for an end, okay? Humans have free will, okay? Humans have free will. So what that means is humans are able to take in information of their surroundings via their intellect, which is a power of the rational soul. That's 3 L's, but I don't care. They're able to take in information from their surroundings, and they're able to discern it and decide what they perceive as good and what is not good. Like, for example, a human intellect might be presented with ice cream. Alright? Now, if the end goal, if the intention, some nice vocabulary word right here, intention, if the intention of the human was to taste something sweet, then this ice cream right here would be perceived as good. And the human would work to achieve ice cream. It would work to achieve an end, in this case the end being ice cream. Alright? Now, in order to achieve an end, you must first go through the means to an end. Alright? You use your car to drive to the ice cream store. You're using your car as a means to an end. So that's how that works. There's usually a chain of things that you use as means to an end in order to achieve your end. So firstly, if my intention is to get good grades in school, I might use my laptop as a means to an end. I might attend school as a means to an end. Alright, now what I've just described for you here is the path that one person takes to achieve a good that they perceive. Now, perceived goods are not always good in nature. So let's go back to the idea that human beings are capable of sin. All right, that's all. We all know that. That's widely perceived knowledge. But why do human beings sin? Okay? Because obviously nobody wants to sin. So how do we get there in the first place? What actually causes us to sin? If nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to commit unspeakable acts of horror today. No one does that. So how do we actually get to that place? Let me show you. So let's say your goal was to be the best. All right? Everyone seems to have that type of goal. Doesn't matter in what department, to be the best. It's a very general goal. All right? Best. All right? Now, there are many means that you might use to achieve that end. So, some people might, let's say best at school, best at grades. Make it a bit more specific. Some people might study, some people might go to the library, some people might go to extra help. If it's a Christian humanism class, it might be you watching this video. All right, you could have things like sabotage. Sabotaging other students so that you're better than them. We could call cheating. Let's see, Googling answers to your homework. A certain ChatGPT we're all very fond of using and none of the teachers seem to know about yet. Well, they all know about it, they just don't know how to stop it. Alright. Now, both of these pathways work to achieve this end, alright? If performed well enough, both of these will get you to your end. However, even though this thing up here is a good, these things on this side are evil. These things are good. Alright? So, what you're doing is you're using evil means to achieve a good. But that's the thing with this. Nobody wants to do evil. Therefore, somewhere in your intellectual perception of the world around you, you are convinced that this is good because it brings you to good. When you decide to steal someone's wallet, you don't steal someone's wallet because you want to be a bad person. You steal someone's wallet because you want money. Alright? Money is a good. Okay? Money is an end. The way you achieve an end sometimes can be evil. Alright? So this pattern right here we're talking about means to an end. Let's introduce some vocabulary that we're going to attach to that. I really enjoy writing with 2 markers. This is fun. So, an absolute good. This would be your end goal. Alright? This would be your being the best. This would be your ice cream. Alright? The relative good is the path you take to get there. These are your car keys, your wallet, the ice cream store address. Though they are, I'd say, ethically neutral, they're relatively good because they work to achieve the end goal, the absolute good. Okay? Now, you notice the words we're using here, good. Like, an absolute good would not be mass genocide, for example. That's not an absolute good. You'll notice I use very extreme examples. I just do that to get my point across. And I understand these can be boring sometimes, so nice to give a little punch into the gut sometimes. So let's come back here to this distinction between how all living things are naturally drawn to the good. Alright? All of them are drawn to the good. Because the humans have free will, not only are they drawn to the good, but they may make certain errors in judging what is good and what is evil. Now, we stated that all living things are drawn to the good. But if animals don't have free will, then how can they achieve ends? How can they achieve their ends? Well, the answer to that is animals, if you remember from our Powers of the Soul unit, animals have instincts. Alright? It is in their nature to achieve the good. Now, as you might imagine, the good in the animal scope might be very limited. Might be limited to reproduction, survival of the species, holding the ecosystem intact, things like this. However, an animal does not choose whether he wants to keep the ecosystem intact. He is instinctually drawn to it by the maker. So when we are talking about chasing a good, we have the absolute good, which is your end goal up here, being the best. We have the relative good, which is the morally neutral things that you use to achieve your absolute good. And then we have this thing called the ultimate good. Now, the ultimate good is what provides us with unending happiness and supreme satisfaction. Okay? Basically, the ultimate good is what all of us strive for, as animals, as humans, as plants. It's what all living things strive for, the ultimate good. Now, the ultimate good takes different forms depending on whether you're a plant, animal, or human. Alright? But for all humans, the ultimate good is always the same. Alright? Unending happiness. Now, the way we achieve our ultimate good, or the way we attempt to achieve our ultimate good, is inextricably tied to the absolute good. The absolute good is our attempt at achieving the ultimate good, because you can never be unendingly happy until you go to heaven. Alright? So the human ultimate good is an eternity in heaven with God. Therefore, we must do things in this world to be with him in the next. But like I was saying before, the ultimate good for something like an animal would be like survival of the species, maintaining the ecosystem, because remember, animals have non-subsistent souls. Their souls don't go to heaven. Now, this whole science that I've been laying out for you guys is what we call ethics. Ethics. Now, it's important to notice my use of language here. I called this a science. Now, that has certain implications. A science is the same for all things, okay? Something like psychology is not a science. Well, the entire umbrella term psychology, there are multiple sub-sciences in there, but the entire umbrella term psychology is not a science because you can have different stimulus, different causes, causing different things in different people. It's not entirely controlled. Ethics, however, is. Cheating and sabotage will always be evil, okay? Humans will always be drawn to the ultimate good of unity with God in heaven. Some examples of how ethics is a science. Now, because ethics is a science, it also has a first principle. Now, what is a first principle? A first principle is sort of the mission statement of a science. You read the first principle, and you immediately realize what the science is about, the perspective from which it views things and analyzes things, and the basis from which it's built upon. Therefore, the first principle is not something that has to be proven. It is self-evident to you, because you can't build on something that has not yet been proven. All right? It needs to be self-evident so that the rest of the science can build upon it. Now, the first principle for ethics is do good, comma, avoid evil. All right? Now, if we look at this in terms of humans, by doing this, humans will naturally achieve the ultimate good, which is happiness. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this in terms of two different types of sciences. We've got descriptive science and we've got normative science. Descriptive science is about collecting data, analyzing, and determining facts, okay? Chemistry, physics, biology, these are all descriptive sciences. Normative sciences are about making judgments, all right? Meaning there's a little bit of human judgment involved. Ethics is a normative science because we are judging whether acts are morally good or morally evil. So, because ethics is a physical science, it has physical presence in this world. It's not metaphysics. It's not dealing with imaginary concepts. We can analyze whether it has form and matter. Okay. So the form of any science is the angle with which it's judged, the perspective that you judge the information with. And the matter is the subject matter. It's what's actually being studied. It's the tangible piece that you measure, calculate, and all of this. So the matter of ethics would be the voluntary actions of humans. So the form of ethics would be whether those actions lead to happiness. So in the greater scheme of things, in macro ethics, we're able to observe a person in their pursuit for the ultimate good. We are able to see how they go about achieving their absolute good and what means they use to achieve their absolute good. And after looking at how morally good or morally evil their acts are, we can determine the character of a person. All right? Now, the character of a person is, are you a good person? Are you a bad person? Okay? Do you generally do what's morally good, or do you generally do what's morally evil? Okay? Now, to bring in one of my favorite quotes from, I believe it was, what's the guy's name? Yes, yes. Philip Zimbardo. Okay. This is irrelevant to the course, but I think it's a good analogy to use. Philip Zimbardo said evil is defined as knowing better but doing worse. Okay? Now, we saw that already up here. Doing good and doing bad, doing evil, are voluntary acts. Knowing, okay? You cannot do something voluntarily unless you know what it is and you know what you're doing. It's not evil unless you knew it was evil, and despite that, choosing to do it. And that's chapter 1, guys. Enjoy life.